Hello adventurers, my name is Dan from Dungeons by Dan, and today I'm going to be telling you about my Mercenaries for Hire adventure. This adventure should last about 2 to 3 sessions. It's based on 5 players of level 8, and it's a really exciting adventure for players because it actually gives them the chance to choose their ending and choose their approach to the adventure. So it's not exactly open world, but it does give the illusion that it is and allows for significant player choice. So if that sounds interesting to you, keep watching and I'll tell you about how to run through. Alright, so here we are in Roll20, and this is the main page to the intro to Mercenaries for Hire. So if you are going to be a player, this is a good point to say spoiler alert. So there's 2 opposing groups in this adventure, and one is a birdfolk group and the other is a sort of a standard typical nation of humanoids. And the idea is that the humanoids have taken over a certain portion of land, and the birdfolk tribes are angry and that border skirmishes often occur. That being said, no prior knowledge of the characters is needed for them to come upon this, but when they do, they come to a small road where a merchant is discussing with several birdfolk soldiers why he's not allowed to pass through. The soldiers are essentially saying that they can't protect him, right? So the players can get involved and start discussing with the merchant and the soldiers about what's happening, and seeing that the players are all armed and dangerous, the guards will offer them to bring them to their leader, Clorant, and he will negotiate a price for asking them to actively engage in the battle and sway the tide of the war. So in doing so, you switch over to the birdfolk tree map, and it's kind of a large map here. They'll be placed in the meeting room, and then you'll grab all the characters from this area, and they'll sit down and they'll discuss negotiation terms. Once the negotiation terms have been settled, the players are free to go whichever way they want to settle the adventure. So Clorant will pull out the regional map and he will discuss the different areas. So you can see here is the checkpoint where the soldiers and the merchant met. The soldiers will take them to the secret hideout in the tree fort, which is right here. And then there's 3 places that the players can go. They can either go to the killing fields, through the explosive junction, or through the swamplands. So the mission is to break through one of these areas, get to the ancient tower where the opposite nation's headquarter is, and kill their leader. So by punching through a hole through one of these areas, what that allows the birdfolk nation to do is to, if they go through the swamplands, it allows them to throw huge amounts of armies to come through and do pincher attacks on the other areas. So the important thing to understand about this whole thing is it doesn't matter which area you go to. These all have different maps, but the encounter is the same. The environment and terrain is different though. So this will give them the illusion that they're making a big tactical choice, but really they're actually just choosing a map. Now, some players are tricky and they want to go around the map, and that's also fine because they could kind of come around and do a pincher attack themselves. In that case, I have an assassin planned, and he will pepper them from the wood line as harassing them the entire time. So it still will further drain their resources. So let's go one by one. We'll start at the killing fields, the explosive junction, and then the swamplands. So here we are at the killing field, and it's a large map. Now all of these maps are actually large maps. The players will start over here somewhere, and they got to get from the left side to the right side. The difficulty is as they're coming across this giant area, they'll be peppered by a mage, knights, and some elite guards raining down arrows and, well, for the mage, fireballs and magic missiles and stuff like that. So in this particular map, they kind of use this tree as a target where a dryad is stuck. So the players need to essentially use the tree as cover and get to the other side as fast as possible while being under fire. That is the same essentially for the Swamplands, except in the Swamplands, the swamp poses difficult terrain, and this area here has like oil and things like that, where one of the guards can set fire to it, and then they're running through an oily, swampy fire field. In the explosive junction, if the players go through the center area, you can negotiate with the merchant, and the merchant can take them on their cart. When I ran this for my players, that's what they did, and pretty quickly the merchant died, and the cart kept going with the horse pulling it and pulling all the players with them, and it turned into instant mayhem as the cart and the horse ran down the road, and the players had to react very quickly to that. So all of these three encounters in the killing fields, the explosive junction, and the swamplands are the same encounter. There's just different terrain that deals with it. That being said, once they get through the kind of main forces, the idea is that the birdfolk forces and soldiers will start pouring through behind them. The players will be then able to go to the logging camps, and at the logging camps, this turns into a little bit more of a stealth adventure where they could try and sneak around this area. And so you see there's a couple guards here and there's a couple guards up top, and they can either get through the fields and sneak around, or they can try and sneak behind, and the guards are constantly moving and that sort of thing. So it ratchets it up the tension just a little bit more. And that's an easy encounter, so that's really just for fun, but it does wear down their resources just a little bit. Once the players get through the logging camp, then they eventually get to the ancient tower. Now, between the main front and the logging camps, there's opportunity for the players to rest. So by the time that they get to the ancient tower, they should have had a rest at this point. Now, the ancient tower is a pretty difficult encounter. When the players are about 200 feet out, I started tracking initiative, because up on top there's this assassin hunter, and she starts throwing arrows at them. As expected, when I ran it for my group, the players started sprinting towards the tower. Now, this is an ancient ruined tower. They started sprinting at it, and the rogue kept throwing arrows and bolts down on the players. As players are coming to the building, and before they get to the little clearing here, Rayos, the mage, who's the leader of the opposing birdfolk group, will throw a fireball down and offer an optional counter argument to the players and say, I will double whatever the birdfolk are paying you. So this becomes an interesting scenario. The mage is not a fool, and he doesn't really expect these hired mercenaries to take the bait, but if they do, he will offer them gold now in return for the birdfolk leader's head. If they do that, then you skip to the next part. However, if they decide to decline and say this is a trick, which it could be, it's not, but they are able to continue fighting here, and then you keep going through battle as normal. So that being said, the hunter rogue will run downstairs once the players get close enough. She'll shoot the first person that comes up the third flight of stairs, and then Rayos the mage has a defender right here also blocking the door. This will provide the mage significant cover and block all the PCs right in the doorway there, right in the hallway, getting them kind of stuck in the doorway for quite a time. So this is not only a difficult encounter, but it's also really tough on the PCs because they can't really get through the wall unless they do something else, like come up through one of the windows here or something like that. So that being said, if they kill Rayos the mage at this point, then the adventure's over. They get paid from the birdfolk, no big deal. However, if the players have accepted Rayos's counteroffer, then the adventure continues. Then we have to go back to the initial map where the bird folk tree fort are, and they'll find Chlorant, the captain, over here, and they will end up fighting him. He's got a mage and more elite guards, and they'll be fighting him at his tree folk village, which is also an interesting encounter because this is like 40 feet up. If players get knocked to the ground, they fall to the ground. So this is a fun terrain encounter as well. It's not as difficult as the other one, but they should have already taken some hits from Rayos the mage and the archer, so they should already be a little bit beat up at that point. So that's the adventure. It's really fun. It allows the players to choose how they approach it, choose how they want it to end, and gives them a lot of opportunity to do what they want and kind of explore their characters' personalities and judgments on how they want to approach their tactics. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you've played the adventure, leave a comment below, and if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. More will be coming. And until then, keep rolling.